Hey, you ready?
Let's do this.
Ready,
Steady.
remake.
Bam, 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 ba-na-na. Welcome to Ready Steady Remake. It's the podcast where each week, me and Rach, we take a film, we love it, we hate it, and then we remake it. I'm your host, Rich Rach. That's my co-host, Rachel Thompson.
What's happening, everyone?
And this week, we're doing a film that is very close to my heart. Rach, tell the people what film we're doing.
Well, this week we are doing a 2008 superhero film, directed, produced, co-written by Christopher Nolan. The film is the second installment of the Nolan trilogy and is a sequel to Batman Begins. It's starring Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, Gary Oldman, Michael Caine, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Aaron Eckhart, Morgan Freeman, so many! And music, of course, by Hans Zimmer. It had a budget of $185 million, and it went on to gross $1.5 billion. And yeah, it's considered to be the fourth highest grossing film of all time. It won 2 Oscars and 2 Golden Globes, one being Best Supporting Actor for Heath Ledger. Why so serious? It's The Dark Knight, mate.
Where do we begin? A year ago, these cops and lawyers wouldn't dare cross any of you. I mean, what happened?
So what are you proposing?
It's simple. Kill the Batman. Here's my card.
Guys, it's The Dark Knight. It's been a long time coming, but finally, the podcast has gotten around to the Batman. It's been a while, but we made it and we're here talking about what is probably my favorite fictional character of all time. It's Mr. Bruce Wayne himself. Now, normally, I would start the podcast in the place where I always start it, and I'd say, Rach, when was the first time you saw The Dark Knight? However, there's no point in me doing that this time because we saw it together.
In the cinema?
You did, mate, yeah.
Yes, mate.
Yeah, in
It was
2008.
me, you. Who else was
John
it?
Eden.
John Eden.
John Eden.
Was
At
it
the
just the three
time,
of us?
me and Rach, we used to dabble in the performing arts in our youth, and out of drama school, we'd both been cast in a Shakespeare production, and me, you, and our friend John, we were all rehearsing that day, and at the end of rehearsals, it was the day Batman came out, so we all ran around across the road and went to the old Odeon on London Road, which isn't
yes.
there anymore.
No longer
And
there.
we went in, and it was so busy because we were quite late. It was like 8 o'clock showing. It was the first night. We had to sit on the very front row of the cinema.
Mate,
so like,
I
the
remember
screen
me
was
neck.
yeah. And I remember watching that film. I'd always been a big fan of Batman Begins. I thought Batman Begins was a fine film. Then I watched this, and we came out, and I couldn't really think about anything else apart from Heath Ledger's performance in this film. That was the overriding thing that I remember when we left the cinema. We were just going, mate, that was unreal. Do you remember anything of when we first saw it?
Mate, yeah, just exactly what you've just said, because I think it was such the build up to this movie, because obviously he'd, died and whatever. So it was all about his performance, and already, it was bubbling away, through the filming of the film that, this was possibly going to be something quite special. And then, obviously the sad news with him, passing away. So yeah, I think for everyone and anyone who went to see this in the cinema, it was all about what are we about to watch on screen, and it did not let down, because I don't think I took a breath when he was on screen. It was I don't think I'll ever forget the impact and how powerful that performance, and watching that for the very first time on the big screen. I'm so glad that I got to experience that Do,
Yeah,
do
man.
you feel the same, mate?
I do. I mean, this is the thing. I think if you're a young person, you won't remember that Heath died before this film came out, and not long before it came out. It was like a couple of months or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember waking up, going downstairs. I was working on a job. I was working in Brighton, and I was
Yes.
in a house share. And I got woken up by some people in the house, and they were like, "You're not going to believe this." I went downstairs, put the news on, and it was like Heath Ledger's dead. And I remember being at the time like, I really liked Heath Ledger, not because of his brilliant, more art house performances, but because of a film called A Knight's Tale. Right, I used to love A Knight's Tale, and I always saw that Heath Ledger was so charming in that film. And when he was cast as the Joker, there were a few people. There was not a few people. There was a huge backlash on the fan community of the Batman. People saying that Heath Ledger is too handsome, he's not proven himself, he's just a complete wrong casting choice for this film. I mean, this is before internet trolls really were alive. And you think now of the backlash that castings get. I mean, this was massive. The hate for Heath Ledger was huge. And I can't remember a performance that was with so much negativity going in that had such a strong reaction coming out. I don't know anyone who doesn't like this performance. And I mean, don't be wrong, I understand people that might say, as the Joker, it's not my Joker, I prefer whatever. Just as a performance, it is phenomenal. And I remember in the cinema, mate, the bit when the Joker has his big moment when he walks in, he's like, ha, ha, ha. And he's like, do you want to see a pencil disappear?
Oh, yeah.
And he did the pencil magic trick. And mate, the whole cinema was just silently captivated through that. That's oh man, I still rate that intro scene when Joker walks in and he's got the grenades in his coat, and he's like, nice suit, you bought it, all that sort of stuff. That scene is one of my favorite character introductions. I know you meet him earlier on, but I think it's one of the greatest character introductions ever in cinema. I think
one of them's like, you're crazy. I'm not crazy.
I'm not.
I'm not crazy. Like, mate, I just think I watched it again last night because I've not seen it in a while. And once again, whenever he is on screen, you just can't, like, you're not ever, like, you know, because obviously you watch film these days, you go on your phone, you're in and out of it. But whenever he is on screen, and it happened like last night for me, I couldn't breathe because you just everything he does, every little tick, movement, expression is just so interesting, and the choices he makes is like it. Yeah, I just still think, like, watching it now, the impact of it is still really, really strong.
Yeah,
And
you nailed it, mate.
It's so exciting to watch.
I know, and I mean, look, I'm one of the few people. I'm in the camp that I do not like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker film. I'm sorry, it does nothing for me. I actually find it to be a bit of it's just a remake of other films with this weird mental health angle that I don't think is actually very well handled. But all that being said, every iteration of the Joker since Jared Leto and Joaquin Phoenix, they all nick a little something from Heath Ledger.
Oh yeah.
They've all got the voice. They all nick a little something. And before Heath Ledger came along, the Joker was
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, or even more than Jack Nicholson, was Mark Hamill in the animated series, where
yes.
he's all, hello, Betsy, wow, I'm crazy Joker. And then suddenly, Heath Ledger comes in doing this.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is a famous interview from Tom Waits. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Where he stole the voice from, where he copied Tom Waits to get the voice.
Is it Parkinson? Michael Parkinson, I think it is. Sure,
it's not Parkinson. It's like an Australian show, but it is like a 70s talk show.
But he's
really
drinking
old, yeah.
And he's so animated and
he's
affected,
all like
he?
this. He kind of speaks like that voice has been taken by every Joker iteration since. I mean, you cannot say enough about this. We could do a whole hour just talking about Heath Ledger.
Apparently he spent like 6 weeks in a motel, just like locked himself away and just completely immersed himself, like delved super deep into like the psychology of the Joker, and just kind of perfected his every movement, his backstory, his ticks, his I think, well, actually, I think that, because he licks his lips quite a lot. I think that came afterwards
Because of the scars.
because of the
Yeah.
prosthetics and everything. But but yeah, just his voice work that he did. Like I can't remember the guy who he worked with who helped him, but he said, "I've never known an actor quite like it to go to the depths and the lengths that he did." And it just it pays off because.
Well, right, this is a good time to pull up the fact that I think we need to clear something up. After Heath Ledger's death, there was for some reason, this bizarre rumor developed that because Heath had played the Joker, he got himself into such a mental state that it caused him to kill himself. Let's just clear a few things up. First of all, it was not a suicide.
No.
All right, Heath Ledger did not kill himself. All right. He had an accidental reaction due to prescribed medication.
Yeah.
Now, according to every single person who worked on that set, they said that Heath Ledger was just a fun, lovely person to be around, had a great attitude, was just a real professional guy, and just a lovely dude to work with. And I just want to make it clear that there is no correlation between playing the Joker and this perceived suicide thing. It did not happen.
It's a coincidence. Apparently, like, just in general, he's like, his family, came out, his sister in particular, like, released a statement and just said, he loved his job. His work made him happy. He just suffered anyway with like insomnia, and which is why he had like prescribed medicine. And unfortunately, it was just like a cocktail of medicine that prescription that he mixed together. That, as you say, he had a reaction to. He did not kill himself, but I think people like to dramatize and build the story and be like, but
it builds the myth of the character of the Joker as well a little bit. All I will say, the last I'll say on Heath Ledger is he won the posthumous Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for this film, and it was 100% deserved. There are times when certain actors die and they go, "We're going to give him a posthumous Oscar for this performance." So I'm like, okay then. But this, he would have won that if he was alive.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, that is just. Yeah. All right. That's drawn a line into Heath Ledger because we'll be here all day.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Chris Nolan and his aesthetic that he chooses for the Batman film. Now, Batman Begins, which I'm a fan of, I think a bit like The Dark Knight. I think it kind of falls apart in its final act a little bit. But I remember the first film being very orange and black, had this real orange, black, tan, a warm color scheme to it. This film comes out, and you can tell that Christopher Nolan has been watching Heat a lot. Right? Chris Nolan has been watching some Heat on repeat, son. This film is so stolen from Michael Mann's Heat, the Robert De Niro Al Pacino film. From, I think it's 95, 96, 97.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I just read, actually, I don't know if you know this, but apparently the first 4 or 5 days of filming that was scheduled in for like cast, crew and everything, Christopher Nolan just scrapped and instead did 2 screenings of different films over them.
Please say one of them was Heat. Please say one of them.
The first one was Heat. So the first, I'll tell you what the movies were. So basically, he played a bunch of movies to the whole cast and crew to kind of obviously give them
the tone and vibe of the film.
Of the film that they were about to make. So yeah, one of them was Heat. Cat People. Do you know that? I've never heard of it.
Yep.
Citizen Caine, King Kong, Batman Begins, Black Sunday.
Yeah.
A Clockwork Orange, and Stalag.
Stalag, yeah.
And that's
I mean, these are all films that you watch them and you very much think about cityscapes when you think of those movies and character. The way he films Gotham City in this film, and it's got this real these blue glass tones everywhere. It's got that. At some point, it even reminds me of Terminator 2, in the sense that Jim Cameron has got this obsession with filming blue light at night, and it's an aesthetic and a color palette that for some reason I just love. This cold blue lights in the dark in Los Angeles, this weird neo-noir vibe. I just love it. And I think this film nails it. It just looks amazing. And the tone of it is incredible. I will say again, I do think it falls apart in the third act, this film. I think Batman Begins falls apart in the third act. And I think The Dark Knight Rises is just a pile of shit, if I'm honest with you. I think The Dark Knight Rises is terrible. I mean, we saw that in the cinema as well.
Yeah,
and I remember halfway through Dark Knight Rises, turning to my mate, Adam, who was sat next to me, and I went, mate, is it me or is this a bit shit? Like, it just was. And after The Dark Knight, it was like, whoa, this is a drop-off. I mean, don't be wrong, you got iconic Bane voice and all, but I just don't think...
Yeah, Bane was all right, wasn't he?
Mate, Bane's a silly voice, and that's it. Like, that's it. Hello, Batman!
I was never a fan of Bane. But you're
so
right, with them sweeping camera, like wide shots of the cityscapes, and especially when they go over to China as well. Mate,
yeah, mate,
it's unreal.
Yeah.
And there's that one shot when he's just like, it's so comic book, it's quite early on, and Batman's just like on the edge of like one of the buildings,
gargoyle.
And he's tuning into all. It's like the game, the Batman game. He's tuning into all like the radio. Oh, so good, so comic-y. Love it.
Yeah, man. I mean, also sort of acting-wise, Christian Bale in this film. I think every single person out there will agree that Christian Bale is the best representation of Bruce Wayne we've ever had. As a Batman, I'll take him or leave him. I really can't get past the voice. I'm afraid I can't get.
I think it was toned down a bit in this one.
I don't know, mate. I don't know. He's still got that.
Maybe we just got used to it. Maybe I just got used to it. But the first time I heard it, I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, mate. There are moments in this, like one of my favourite Batman moments of all time. It's the little things that I love in this film. There is a minute in this when Bruce Wayne, there's a guy with a shotgun, and Bruce Wayne takes it and punches a guy and dismantles the shotgun and throws it away in like 3 seconds. Like, that is Batman right there. Not like, but
the
listen,
Batman for what you're talking about, like moments for me is the chase scene with the lorry, and when he's on his bike and it goes up the wall and
all right,
it reverses. You're like, yes.
I mean, it's difficult to kind of put this in order. We're kind of jumping around everywhere.
I know.
That scene, mate, when the fucking lorry, practical effects as well, no CG, goes and flips on the street. There was a weird time in the early noughties when loads of action films had lorries being flipped over. It was a repeat motif that turned up in loads of stuff. The Bat Pod, though, I love that little bike. I'm not a big fan of the Tumbler, the big giant tanky Batmobile.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. It's too bulky for me. I like them more sleek.
Yeah, if I get any fucking comic book people on this go, oh yeah, but it's all reminiscent of The Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, I know. All right, I get it. I know what you're talking about. What I'm saying is, that's not my preferred style of Batmobile. I prefer a sleeker, longer Batmobile. In my personal opinion, Batman the Animated Series is the best Batmobile that we'll get in kind of live action, if you understand what I mean. But I'm also partial to Tim Burton's Batmobile. I know it's a bit dated now. It looks like a big plastic chunk of lump, but I prefer it to the Tumbler. And don't get me started on the Batwing in The Dark Knight Rises. The Batwing, it's like a fucking upside down lobster that just goes.
This isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway,
with the bike, mate.
The Bat Pod is sensational, and apparently it was fully functional. Just a fully working bike that stunt up the wall. That was just done by a guy. Like, it was a completely working machine.
That size of that tire, mate. That tire, big fat tire.
Yeah, I do like that concept though. That when the tank breaks, it's got like an escape pod that's a little bike. That is cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So Christian Bale, I really like Christian Bale in this. There's certain bits that I love, and there's certain things about his Batman I don't like. Aaron Eckhart turns up in this film as Harvey Dent / Two-Face. This is my biggest issue with the film. It's my fundamental issue with the whole film, and that is the rush to turn Harvey Dent into Two-Face and give him his finale in this film. In my humble opinion, these films as a trilogy would have worked so much better if in this film, Harvey Dent He's in the hospital with his face. We see the Joker go in his nurse outfit, one of the best bits in the film. He's like,
Yeah.
hi, all that stuff. And then that's it for Harvey Dent. We never see him again for the rest of the film. He disappears, and the Batman finds out
Bring
that
him
Harvey's
back.
gone missing. And then this film, we cut straight to the end with the Joker and his two boats doing all that. In the third film, Two-Face returns as Two-Face, and then we have the Two-Face film in the third one. I just think it's too much. I think this third act, it just upsets me.
I think it tries to pack too much into it because, as you say, like with the two boats, that's like another film in itself, mate. Like I'd watch
mate.
that movie.
Yeah,
The convicts and everything. You don't see enough of it because you're like, oh, this is quite interesting as a concept of like, blowing each other up. But yeah, I completely agree, mate. They just packed it in, and then, as you say, we've got Two-Face kicking off, shooting all the cops. Yeah, I think they could have dragged that out a bit more and made the Dark Knight Rises better.
Yeah, I think it takes away from the Joker stuff by then suddenly going, oh no, now there's a new villain and there's a whole new situation that Batman's got to solve. And I'm like, I don't need that. Two-Face would have been so much. Imagine if at the very end of the film there was just a reveal of Two-Face with that fucking incredible design where he's got the Tim Sale look, where he's got like the bald head and the eye and the
to end on that, and then you go, fuck, that's the next.
Yeah, you go, next movie, I'm going to get a Two-Face movie. Like, and especially after the relationship that's built between Harvey Dent and Bruce Wayne, you've got time to really play with that and leak it out. So Aaron Eckhart, who I actually really like in this, I think he does a fine job in this film.
I agree.
There are times where I think he's a bit shouty. When
he's Two-Face, he becomes more shouty.
Yeah,
when he's in the hospital bed, he just shouts a bit. I don't know if he got like wrapped up in Heath Ledger's performance. Maybe he just got a bit excited.
I think what they were trying to do, because there's a bit when he's in the tunnel and he's got the gun and he's interrogating the dude who's a Joker man, and he screams at him. Then I think the idea was to show that he already has anger issues and he's capable of these outbursts, so that when he turns into Two-Face, it kind of makes more sense. Just doesn't work. No, I'm afraid it just doesn't work. I like Aaron Eckhart a lot, and it's a kind of a Bruce Wayne Batman thing. Really like his Harvey Dent. Not crazy about his Two-Face.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Now, originally, famously, this role was written for and offered to Matt Damon.
Oh, was it?
So Harvey Dent was meant to be Matt Damon. Matt Damon turned it down. He had some kind of contractual obligations. He just couldn't do it. And he cast Aaron Eckhart, who I really like. Aaron Eckhart is in a film that I think is incredibly underrated. A film, I think you've probably seen it. Thank You for Smoking.
No, I've not seen it, mate.
No? Thank You for Smoking is this really brilliant little dark comedy about the tobacco industry starring Aaron Eckhart. And it's very obvious to me that Chris Nolan was going, shit, I can't get Matt Damon. And then one night he's watched Thank You for Smoking and gone, that guy will do it. And it's great. Sadly, Aaron Eckhart's kind of disappeared.
He's not done anything since. Did he do anything after?
Yeah, he did. He was in a terrible film called I, Frankenstein, where he plays Frankenstein's monster and has to kill gargoyles in the streets.
That'll do it, mate.
It's a funny one because I really like Aaron Eckhart. I'm sure he has done other stuff, and I think in this, he actually is really good. I just think he comes from the same thing where if we just built him all up as Harvey Dent and then he disappears, and then the next film bring him back and he's got more. I don't know.
I actually agree with you, mate. Who else?
The other big one I want to quickly mention is the strange disappearance of Katie Holmes, where she's miraculously transformed into a better actress. Maggie Gyllenhaal turns up. That was out of order. I'm sure that was out of order. But yeah, she's replaced by
the lovely Maggie
in this. And I'll be honest with you, I think Maggie Gyllenhaal nails it.
Yeah,
I think she's just better in every single aspect of this performance. Now, while we're here, mate, and we're on the podcast, you know how much I love a dirty little rumour that has no validation or any facts involved at all. Let me just get my little rumour flute out. It's time for a rumour. So the rumour is that the reason Maggie Gyllenhaal replaced Katie Holmes is because Katie Holmes was offered a deal from the movie studios that if she married Tom Cruise, she would get to star in 3 giant films. And it just happened that she appeared in 3 giant films around this sort of time.
How strange.
And then she divorced Tom Cruise and just got
That was
replaced in
it.
everything.
That was it.
So that's the big dirty rumor that Tom Cruise and his Scientology gang came in and were like, did him, and put the muscle on her and got rid of her. So yeah, but the thing is, Maggie Gyllenhaal, she's better. So there you go.
Yeah, she's a little sweetheart in it. And mate, it really upsets me that Joker played that dirty trick on Batman and sent him to the wrong place. Because I kind of want to let her know, like, no, he was coming for you.
That dirty trick. It's a funny one actually, because a lot of people tend to, comic purists do not like people fanning around with characters' origin stories. And Two-Face has a completely different origin in this. He gets petrol on his face, but then gets saved, but then falls into a bit of fire on the walk outside, which I always thought was clumsy. But anyway, and that little bit of fire on his face is able to melt down his entire face. In the comics, the original story is Harvey Dent is in court as a lawyer, and he's on the stand about to send down all the gangsters, and one of the lawyers has been paid off, and as he's speaking to him, pulls out a bottle of acid and throws it in his face. And as he turns to the side, it goes and melts all that side, right? Which, makes a little bit more sense. It's fun, but also I don't actually mind this. It's a bit, it's like I said, it's a bit goofy, but I think the build up to it and the shot
when he falls in it, you'd expect then in that moment for that to happen there, and then not, as you say, to be then saved, and then, oh shit, a bit of fire's just caught onto me.
Yeah, he walks out and a firework goes on him, and he goes, ah! And then Batman just stands there and goes, uh-oh! And it's like, put it out, Batman! What are you doing?
Pow!
Punch out the flames!
Pow!
So yeah, mate, I think that's it for the cast, isn't it?
Well,
everyone.
There's Michael Caine, there's
Michael Caine.
Gary Oldman.
Fuck, this cast is unreal.
Huge, mate. Morgan Freeman's. Mate,
then you have some mad cameos as well. I think Bill Fichtner turns up in this for an awesome cameo at the start, owning it with the bank, and he's got the shotgun. The cast is incredible. Christopher Nolan has always had a real gift for casting. He tends to cast really hot actors, but then always fills his films with these strange cameos from forgotten actors or actors. In this one, he brings back what's his name? Fucking Roberts, Julia Roberts' brother. You know what I mean? Who plays the Roman Moroni? I think he plays in this. So they do that, and he has a habit of bringing back little characters, actors that he puts in his films here and there that I really like. And then when it comes to Michael Caine, Chris Nolan himself has said Michael Caine's just his good luck charm, and that's all shit. He's his good luck charm, and he casts him in everything.
And he's great. He's great. And Morgan Freeman creating all that like super cool network as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the Morgan Freeman. Yeah, the Lucius Fox thing. It's so it feels to me anyway so obvious that Christopher Nolan, more than anything in the world, he's just obsessed with James Bond and just wished he was making a James Bond film.
Yeah.
And he does everything he can to turn Batman into James Bond.
With all the little
by
gadgets.
Literally giving him his own queue where he goes to have meetings and gets his gadgets given to him, where he's in a suit, and then we'll finish with a little quip. It's so James Bond. Like in the first one when he's like, does it come in black? When he sees the car and stuff like that. It's so James Bond. And then you watch Inception, James Bond. You watch Tenet, James Bond again. I'm like, fuck, Cubby Broccoli. Somebody just give Christopher Nolan James Bond. Just do it. Like,
do you know
when
what?
Daniel Craig's gone, mate, he'd nail it. When Craig's gone, just fucking bring him in and let Nolan do his Bond film.
Give him all the money. Gadgets.
Yeah, give him all the money and go, Nolan, you proved yourself now. Go on, do it. Do Bond. The casting, you can't fault it. The casting, Eric Roberts.
Eric.
Yeah, you can't fault the casting in this film. It's just sensational. The cinematography, the stunts, the music, the score in this film.
Oh, the hands, the build up, the boom, boom, boom. Like it's so twisted and dark and like.
For me, it's the Joker score, mate. The Joker score.
It's not a Batman score.
One note on a violin. is the Joker's score. Whenever the Joker comes on, all it is all the way through his scenes, this high pitch, like it's so clever.
You feel it, don't you?
It's just good.
And
just
he
good, mate.
sets that up straight away from that opening shot. The first time we see Joker when he's like in the street with his back
With the
to
masks.
us, with the holding the mask, and just
Yeah.
just that stance alone. That's the very first time you see the Joker, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, and I'm
This
pretty
is what
sure
we're getting.
those masks are a reference to the Adam West. Remember Adam West, Batman?
Yes,
Pish,
love
pop,
Adam
I'm
West.
sure there's an episode in the '66 series where Joker wears that exact mask from that movie.
Yeah.
So like even then, he's still bringing in little nods. I mean, everyone will always say that he's very much influenced by Frank Miller and Frank Miller's work on Batman, not just The Dark Knight, but Year One. But this film in particular really kind of leaves Frank Miller behind and takes the most from the Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale run of Batman called The Long Halloween, which is where most of this stuff comes from, predominantly the Harvey Dent-Gordon relationship with Batman. So he's picking from good stuff, and he just kind of throws it all in there and makes it his own. So I can't argue with him. The guy did his own thing, and he pulled it off. It's a shame that the third film is, in my opinion, terrible.
Yeah,
it is.
It's a shame. All right, before we move on, what is your favorite scene in this film? What got
In this
ya?
film, without question, it's the introduction of the Joker, and not it's two. It's the opening initial bank robbery scene, which I just think is so much fun. But it's got to be the Joker's introduction when he goes in and he makes the pencil disappear. He's got the grenades on the chain. He has just some of the greatest lines. When the guy's like, "Do you think he's going to walk out here?" And he's like, "Yeah." Like it's just brilliant.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
I've got to agree with you. That one, and I also the unexpected scene between him and Batman in the interview room.
Oh yeah, the don't start with a head; it makes you fuzzy, and he's just banging it.
Yeah.
One of my favourite bits from that is when it's a bit later on. There's a cop in there, and he turns to Joker, and he goes, Joker asks him how many his friends he's killed, and the cop goes 6, and Joker goes, brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, brilliant.
Amazing. Anything else? Do you want to go off on one about Batman, mate, or you?
But this thing, right? I was thinking, I'm gonna bury the lead. I'm just going to come out of it now. So when it comes to remakes, I've not done a remake of The Dark Knight. I'm just going to pitch you the Batman film that I've been writing for the last 10 years. So we'll get into that later on when I just give you my Batman movie.
Okay, mate. I can't wait. I can't. Is this the one you've been writing in your head?
I've been writing this Batman film on and off since I was a little boy. It's just that I'm a comic book guy, so it's just things you think of. Oh, there he is actually. Oh, wrong side.
There he is, the other shoulder.
Oh, why can't I figure my hands out? There he is. Mate, did you see that? I was like, what's going on? I still can't. It's there.
This is fucking malfunctioned on here.
Oh, God. So, yeah.
We'll get to that bit then later.
Yeah, but just quickly talking to the Batman. I'm a huge Batman fan. I love all iterations of the Batman. Anyone who is an arsehole enough of a fan to go, "Oh, no, Batman's got to be dark and broody." Fuck you, all right? Batman's been around since 1939, okay? And there have been 1,000,001 iterations of the Batman. You can have any kind of Batman you want, all right? If you want the fun Batman, go and watch the colourful, bright Batman comics from the Golden Age. You want your dark, brooding Batman, go to the 80s or go all the way back to the 40s and read Bill Finger's original pulp noir Batmans. If you want the horrific Batman, go to the 80s and read Grant Morrison's Arkham run. You can have every different type. You want games, movies, everything. Don't be a wanker and go, "Oh, my Batman's just this," because there is no just one Batman. There are many Batmans.
That's the magic of Batman.
Yeah. However, I will say my personal favourite Batman. Obviously, I was born in the 80s. So for me, Frank Miller's early stuff with The Dark Knight Returns in Year One with David Mazzucchelli and all that. Obviously, it's amazing. But anyone who's listening to this, of course it is. We all know it. It's the stuff, Long Halloween. Yeah. My personal favourite comic run has got to be Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder's New 52 run. They did a run in 2012 to 2015, I think, and that featured stuff like The Court of Owls and Death of the Family, 0 Year. It's not only my favorite Batman suit design wise, it's my favorite Batman art ever. I'm a huge fan of it, and it's New 52, so I know people go, oh, but yeah, that's that for me. If you're a Batman fan and you know this, might be going, yeah, brilliant. If you're not, and you might want to get into it, Google Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo Batman and read their entire run, because that will really scratch that Batman itch. All right, that's my Batman.
Mate, I love listening to you talk about Batman.
I love that, guy.
Yes, mate. Right, should we do top tens?
Da-da-da-da-da-da. It's Tomo's Internet Top 10s.
Okay, so mixing it up this week, and I'm going to get you involved, Rich.
Go on.
I'm doing, so top 10, but divided into two. And we all know is two top fives. So I'm going to do top five.
Yeah.
Top five favorite Batmans, my favorite Batmans, and also my top five favorite villains. But I also
in the Batman universe.
In the Batman universe.
Batman Rogue, as we call them, Tomo. They're known as the Rogues Gallery.
The Rogues. And then I wanna hear what yours are as well. So we'll go with top five Batmans. And I mean
are we talking live action Batmans?
Well,
or just in general? Anyone who's played the Batman?
Whoever's played a Batman, whether it's the voice of or the actor of or whatever. So number one for me, who is what I would consider my Batman, because when I was growing up, would be the Adam West Batman, like that, the Batman TV series. Like that was my first introduction to Batman.
One thing I'd like to quickly bring up about the Batman, the TV series, it's known in the Batman fandom as Batman 66, because that was the year that it came out. Came out in 1966, Batman. When we were young, there was this real backlash towards 66 Adam West Batman. I think it was because Tim Burton's Dark Batman had come out, and there was this kind of like, Batman's so camp and stupid, that's ridiculous. Whereas now, we've done this turnaround, and people are starting to really appreciate the magic of that show. My favourite quote from Adam West about Batman was after Tim Burton came out, and it was all darkness, 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 no parents. Adam West came out and was like, yeah, man, people can have the Dark Knight, but me, I'm the bright knight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you were, mate. You were, Robin. I agree. Batman.
Yeah, 66, I mean, when I think of Batman, that was like I remember like going to my nan and granddad's in the summer holidays when I get like babysat, when my mum and dad were in work, and of a morning that TV series was on, and I loved it, mate. It was so like the power, all of that, the proper tights, the leggings, like the running, everything.
The leggings.
Like the proper running to the music, like that.
Yeah,
like that. That's where I was like, "What is this?" That was my first kind of experience. So yeah. So for me, number one, Batman is Adam West.
Yeah. Just quickly, I just want to say as well, you cannot understate how popular that show was at the time.
Yeah.
All right. 66 Batman was fucking huge.
Yeah,
mate.
it was
massive in the 60s. Anyway, yeah, go on.
Number two for me is, it might be a controversial one, but again, it's just from nostalgia, is Michael Keaton. He's my next.
Oh yeah, I mate, 100%.
Because he was then my next step of into that universe. So he for a while, he was my Batman. Do you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get onto it, but Michael Keaton.
Number three, Christian Bale.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly, as you say, for the more kind of like serious.
He's Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne's excellent.
Yeah, it's Bruce Wayne. Number four, Val Kilmer.
The beautiful Val. What's the song? Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. I believe that was the song for Batman Forever.
And then finally, the number 5 is the cartoon one,
Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, so they're my
Yeah.
top 5, mate. Talk to
Um,
me about yours.
let's think. I think they're pretty similar. My number 1 will be Kevin Conroy. Uh, Kevin Conroy was my Batman. My first love of Batman
But
came
he's
from.
the longest running one, isn't he? He's like.
He is. I mean, he's gone on to do. If you don't know who he is, if you played the Arkham games, he's the Batman in the Arkham games. And so much Batman media he has been the voice of. Kevin Conroy was the first actor to play the Batman to come up with the idea of changing the voice between Bruce Wayne and Batman. He is so iconic and so good. It was my first introduction to the Bat. I can't get enough of Kevin Conroy. I think he's absolutely superb. He finally last year made his live action appearance as Bruce Wayne when he played Batman in the Belantiverse on the TV show, where he played like an older Batman. It was a bit of a letdown, if I'm honest with you. He didn't really get a lot to do. But yeah, Kevin Conroy is probably my number 1 Batman version. My number 2 Batman would be Michael Keaton.
Nice.
Batman Returns was my Batman movie as a kid. Not Batman 1, not the 89 Batman. Batman Returns. There is something about Gotham and snow that just, I don't want to be crude, makes my dick hard, man. I don't know what it is about it. There's Gotham in snow is everything I want from a Gotham. And that Art Deco design in the Burton. Listen, Batman's not great. I get it. There's not a lot of Batman in these movies, in the Tim Burton films. Michael Keaton doesn't really get a lot to do. And there's the whole, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Crazy out of character moment from Batman 89. However, the scene of Bruce Wayne in a black turtleneck sat at a desk, and then the bat signal appears behind him, and he stands up and takes his glasses off. The only Bruce Wayne I can think of who wears glasses and does a Clark Kent thing as well. Interesting. But that shot, for me, that's Batman, bitch. Is when Batman is sat in that, and also it's got that score. So what are you going to do? Michael Keaton. Number 3. Now, this is when things get a little more interesting. Right. Now, I'm going to say an equal positioning here. I'm going to put Christian Bale and Batfleck. Now, there's a lot of people out there who go, whoa, Ben Affleck is Batman. All right, he kills people all the time. Michael Keaton blew a fucker up with dynamite, all right? Christian Bale used to kill motherfuckers all. Christian Bale threw fucking Liam Neeson into a train wreck. Like, Batman kills people in these movies. I don't like it, but he's done it before. So don't get on your high horse and go, Batman kills people. Ben Affleck, in my opinion, is the closest we've got physically to the appearance of the Batman that I want to see. I think that costume, it's a bit bulky, but I think the costume is tremendous. And I think Ben Affleck is great. If he had a better script and a better film, I think people would have said he's the best Batman. Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne is superb. I cannot stand his Batman voice. So those two are my joint number 3. Number 4 Batman, I'm going to go Adam West, The Bright Knight. Absolutely adore the man, and Adam West, 66 Batman, famous for just creating so many things that didn't exist before. Shark repellent, bat spray, a Joker with a painted mustache, stuff like that. I love it. And then finally, my final Batman. Who am I going to go with? Do you know what? This is a bit of a tough one because there's so many different voice actors and characters. I'm not going to put Kilmer or Clooney on my list at all. I'm not going to put Will Arnett on my list. I'm going to choose a bit of a wild out there one. I'm going to go with a guy called Bruce Greenwood.
Okay.
Bruce Greenwood is the voice. He plays Captain Pike in the Star Trek reboots. You'll recognise his face if you saw him as an actor. He's in probably... Oh, shit, now I put myself in a pickle because I really like Peter Weller in the animated Dark. No, I'm going to stick with Bruce Greenwood. Batman Under the Red Hood, which is probably the second best Batman animated film after Mask of the Phantasm. If you haven't seen Batman Under the Red Hood, anyone out there, including you, Tomo, I would recommend it so much. It's a much more adult story. It's not for kids. It's quite violent and got adult themes, but it's fantastic. So I'm going Bruce Greenwood for my last one. Those are Rich's 5 Batmen.
And Rachel's 5 Batman.
Yeah.
Right, next one we'll blast through them. Top 5 villains, and again the actors that played them.
Okay.
Obviously, there's been multiple ones. Number 1, mate. It's for me. It is Heath Ledger's the Joker for me. So that he's my number 1. We spoke enough about him. Number 2 is Danny DeVito's the Penguin, mate.
Mate. All right. We've spoken before how much I love Batman Returns. There is a part of me though that goes, if I saw that film as an adult now, I would be like, what the fuck is going on in this film? There is some. No, the film's still great and looks amazing. There's some really weird things that happen in this film. And the Penguin being what I can only describe as a horrific pervert sex pest in this film.
Yeah.
Some,
With all the food and the eating.
Mate, he has a line when he talks about blowing up babies' dicks and fannies. There is a moment in this film, no lie, right? There's a moment in this film.
Remember that, mate?
There's a moment in this film when the Penguin talks about blowing up baby dicks. His exact line is, "Can you imagine the wealth of Gotham when the children's erogenous zones are blown sky high?" That's an actual line from the film. There is also a line in the film where Max Schreck, Christopher Walken, talks to him about becoming mayor. And do you know how he persuades Penguin to be the mayor? His words are, "Think of all the poontang." Now, when I was a little kid, I didn't know what that meant.
No.
I thought poontang was money.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. It's a really weird film, mate. And like the bit when he talks to Catwoman, he's like, "Oh, I love your pussy." Like,
Mate, I need
it's
to
weird.
watch this again. That's hard.
yeah, see, this is it. You're like me. You're like,
No,
you remember just the great imagery.
Oh
and
yeah,
all
the
beautiful-
visual scariness of the Penguin.
There's some really weird shit in that film that does not make sense. And just to be clear, this is a film that had Happy Meal tie-ins. All right, this is a film where the Penguin at the end, black bile pours from his mouth as he's going and gets like a funeral. Penguins walk him into a funeral, and then you can buy a McDonald's toy with your nuggets of this fucking rapey penguin, man. It's creepy as fuck, mate. Brilliant though, absolutely love it.
Yeah, mate. So yeah, he's my number 2. Number 3, I'm going for Jack Nicholson's the Joker again.
Jack Nicholson, aka Jack Napier, the Joker.
Yeah.
It's a funny one, this, because Jack is kind of synonymous with that role. And before Heath Ledger came along, there were so many people going like, "Mate, how are you going to live up to Jack Nicholson?" The thing about Jack is, it's Jack Nicholson, mate. It's just Jack being mad Jack, and I fucking love it. That's
And I
it.
think
You're my number 1 guy. Like, I just love it.
That mouth.
Mate,
Because
the big mouth, the big... I can't
like,
do
that
it.
is the Joker, isn't it? No,
Yeah,
that's it. I can't.
Yeah, mate, it's Jack Nicholson. Don't get me wrong, again, there's some really weird stuff that happens in those early films, but love them. Like, there's this weird plotline in that the Joker is into splashing women's faces with acid, and like, that's this really dark thing where he has a girlfriend that he's melted her face and makes her wear a mask and walk around with him, and you don't really remember it. Then you watch it and you're like,
Why is
really
he doing that?
up.
Yeah.
It's really fucked up.
Yeah,
It's
it
the only
is
Joker.
fucked up.
He's the only Joker that has a different MO than all the other Jokers. He specifically says in that Batman film that the Joker's plan is to be the world's first homicidal artist. And the reason he tries to kidnap the main lady in it is because she's a photographer and he wants her to photograph his crimes for art purposes. And there's even a bit when he breaks into an art museum and he's all dressed as an artist. I think that's a really interesting take on the character. It's never been done before. I don't even think in the comics. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting take. As opposed to just, I'm an agent of chaos.
Number 4, I've gone with Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Mate, so good.
Meow.
And the transformation as well. I think the who she is before she turns into Catwoman, like, I love that journey.
Yeah, she's the best thing in that film. She's the best thing in the film. I love that movie. I love everything about it. I mean, apart from all the weird stuff in it, like the weird script. Visually, I love it. Catwoman is so good in that film. It's kind of mental how how sexy, how dangerous, just magnetic. There's something, for some reason, Batman villains are like a gift to actors. I don't know why, but specifically the Batman Rogues Gallery. I'm not talking about Superman or Spider-Man or anything. Something about Batman's Rogues Gallery that just is a dream come true for actors. And I think we'll still see it in films to come. When people get these big Batman villain roles, they just tend to bring something weird out in people, and they just give these powerhouse performances, man. Just love them so much.
Right, my number 5 is, I've chosen this not because it's good, but just because it's so bad it's good. I've got to have Arnie's freeze, mate. Like, I mean, it's so over the top and ridiculous, and Arnie just slapped all over. But I was thinking through them, but it always visually comes back to me. Freeze, like
comes back to the ice puns, mate.
Yeah,
What
mate.
killed the Ice Age?
Yeah.
No, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Ice to see you. It's terrible. It's terrible.
So bad.
The problem is with that film is it's just that when it came out, I mean, it leaned so heavily into the 66 camp style of things in a time when people just didn't want that, and it bombed. Even that said, I still think it's a bad film in general. Yeah. But I see what they were trying to go for. I get the idea. It is a bit
more of the Adam West style, isn't it? Like that.
Oh, incredible! 100 million%.
Yeah.
It's this giant, big, over the top, big like thing, and it's completely 66 with $1 million budget. I just don't think it actually works. But yeah.
So, mate, over to you. Top five.
My top 5, mate. I'm going to try and be a bit different to you and not repeat the ones you've said. So I'm going to try and go for some more lesser known villains out there.
Go more nerdy.
Yeah. Number 1 would be Victor Freeze, Mr. Freeze from Batman the Animated Series. Probably the most famous episode of that, Heart of Ice, written by Paul Dini and directed by Bruce Timm. When I'm blanking on the actor's name for Heart of Ice, but he has a line delivery where he was specifically told to remove all emotion from your voice. So he sounds like this kind of dead, cold thing. And he has the line where he's like, I have no more tears to shed, Batman. Like, he's so good. And it was the first time they invented the backstory of Mr. Freeze being a villain because his wife was frozen in this accident and he's just trying to save his wife. And there's this image at the end of the episode with him in a cell, and it's snowing in his cell in Arkham, and he's just got like a little snow globe and he's staring into it, and as he cries, the cry turns to ice on his face. It's beautiful. It's Bruce Timm. It's Mike Mignola's design as well. The guy who drew Hellboy, he was hired by Bruce Timm to actually design it, and he's got the red goggles. He's brilliant. If you, Tomo, have never seen Heart of Ice, it's only 20 minutes. It's only 20 minutes. Find it somewhere. It's the best. Okay. Number 2, villain. I'm going to go with Killer Croc. He's going to be my villain for the next one. Killer Croc has only been in a live action once. He was in the Suicide Squad movie, played by, I can't pronounce the actor's name, the actor that played Mr. Echo in Lost. Do you remember Lost?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. He's Killer Croc in the Suicide Squad, and he's terrible. He doesn't get anything to do apart from doing this weird crocodile walk thing. I'm going back to Batman the Animated Series, and I'm talking about Killer Croc in one particular famous episode when it's all of Batman's villains playing cards around a table, and they all tell these long stories about how each of them once nearly killed the Batman. Then it cuts to Killer Croc, and he just goes, I threw a big rock at him. And that's his whole story. And then when the story gets to the end, we find out that actually Killer Croc in this story is Batman in disguise, and he whips off his mask, and it's actually Batman who chins all the roads.
Yeah, it's Killer Croc.
There's also an incredible episode of the animated series when Killer Croc leaves Gotham to join the circus and become a member of the freak show in the circus. It's brilliant. Killer Croc is like a crocodile man who's like a gangster as well.
Nice.
Number 3, when it comes to Batman villains, let's go Batman 66. And I'm going to go with, I'm trying to think of a more wilder villain. Let's go with the Eggman, Vincent Price. Vincent Price, famous actor, incredible classic horror icon. Vincent Price turns up playing, I think it was called Mr. Egg or the Eggman, who was basically just a man with a bald head.
You, mate.
Yep. Number 4. Number 4. Let's go with Kite Man. Kite Man is a supervillain whose power is that he flies around on a big kite. That's his power. And now Kite Man was always a joke, but then for some unknown reason, I could not put my finger on it. He's had this huge resurgence in the last few years because a specific, I can't remember the writer's name, decided to take this ridiculous villain and give him the most tragic backstory ever about how like he used to build kites with his kids and then his kid got murdered. So like he used it. It's really good. And then there's a new Harley Quinn animated show that's just been out recently, and the portrayal of Kite Man in that is brilliant. So let's go with Kite Man.
Yes,
And my 5th one, let's go out there. Let's go with the Condiment King. The Condiment King is a villain who has a backpack that's got a gun that shoots ketchup and a gun that shoots mustard, and the Condiment King likes to get stains on Batman's suit.
Is that for real?
Yeah, the Condiment King.
That's unreal.
Yeah, the Condiment King is fucking class. That's his whole thing.
I love a condiment. I can't believe there's a villain called Condiment.
Condiment King, mate.
Condiment
And
King.
his whole thing is he shoots guns of like sauce at Batman, and Batman's like, "Duh, he got sauce on my suit." Yeah, yeah. And there's a whole list of other Batman villains that I absolutely love, with Solomon Grundy, Calendar Man, Mad Hatter. We could be here all day.
All day.
But yeah, I love all the Batman villains. I'm a huge fan. Yeah.
So there we go. That is our Rich and Rach's top Batmans and top villains. Send us in your Batmans and villains also.
Man. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there that are like, where's the love for the Lego Batman? Honestly, I'm not that big a Lego Batman guy, but I understand that people like it.
Right, titular part of the show, mate. Let's Ready Steady Remake.
Hey, you ready?
Let's do this.
Ready?
Steady.
Remake.
Oh! All right, mate. So,
Do you want
you
me
go
to
first,
go
yeah?
first? Cause
Yeah, you go first. You
I
go
think
first.
yours is going to be...
I'm about to go the fuck off on one, mate.
No, I
All
know.
right.
And mine's short and sweet this week because I struggled.
for it.
So,
Go for it.
and
Go
it's
for
a bit shit. So I'm excited. I was more interested in hearing your remake. But yeah, mine is going to be a mockumentary. Okay. And it's set
Oh,
in...
no, already? You've got me, huh?
No, mate, it's really bad. It's so bad.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
It's a mockumentary and set in Leicester. Yeah.
Oh, no. You've lost me already. You've absolutely lost me. Is Gotham City in this at all?
Mate, it's a little mini Gotham City, yeah.
In Leicester?
In Leicester, yeah. So it's like a shopping centre called Gotham City.
No, I'm back. You got me. I'm back.
So it's a little shopping centre in Leicester, Gotham City. And there's your run-of-the-mill fella, dude, lives on his own. He's been divorced for a few years now. He doesn't see his kids very much. And he's been down in the dumps, not feeling too good about his life, at wit's end, bit unmotivated. But he's obsessed with Batman, and that's the only thing that keeps him going in his life is Batman. He loves Batman. He watches Batman. He's got Batman pajamas. He drinks Batman beer. He loves Batman.
Bat bear.
Bat beer, mate. We should make some bat beer. So yes, he loves Batman, and then he just gets into a little bit of an obsessive kind of routine where he starts dressing up as Batman, and he goes out, and then it becomes a little bit like it's keeping him going, and he's doing his thing, and he's being Batman. People think he's a bit weird, and he's just like roaming. He's not really doing it. He's not really saving anyone's life, but it's keeping him ticking along. Anyway, he gets all of his gear online for like his outfit and stuff, and the website that he goes to gets shut down. So all of his gear that he usually gets from it, like he's fuming. He's like, where am I gonna, like, I can't. So he basically, in his outfit, because he needs to like update his outfit, he loses the plot because he's like, what am I gonna do now? Like, and he starts drinking his bat beer. He's like, what, like this is the end. So he loses it, and he decides the next day to go into Gotham City, into Marks and Spencer's, undercover, armed robbery, and robs Marksy's of all the gear that he needs. And
Marks and Spencer's.
Mate.
So he's coming out, when you say all the gear he finds, he's coming out with a pack of Percy Pigs.
No, outfits for his Batman.
Comes out with a pack of sausage rolls. It's got some lovely scran there. And a nice tie. A lovely suit. He's in a lovely, nice suit.
Back to the suit. But he gets caught. He gets caught, like, literally just as he's out the door. He gets cuffed. The camera crew are on him. So it's all like, it's gone viral. Everyone knows about him. So, you know, this underground secret that was keeping him ticking along is now fucking global. Everyone knows about the Batman in Marksy's. And basically they find in his swag bag just thousands and thousands of tights. That's all he's got is tights, mate.
I see.
Tights.
I see what's
And
happened,
so
mate.
next day, headline, newspaper, the dark tights. So they make a documentary about him, mate.
Mate,
Yeah.
do you know what, mate? It's classic, isn't it? Classic. Mate, it's got Tomo written all over it, that one.
Sign that one off, mate.
That's it. The Guys of the Dark Tights, that's Tomo's wonderful remake.
Yeah. Over to you, mate.
All right, mate. So, here we go.
The books.
Here we go. Now, mate, as I said before, this is a Batman story that's been in my back of my little nut for a while. Now, first things I need to make clear before we begin.
Copyright.
My Batman film, I can't really copyright it, mate, because it's a character that's owned by that I don't
No,
own.
but I mean copyright your idea.
Oh, the story. Well, really, I take so many ideas from so many different what was your word, parts of the Batman mythos. So first things first, my film is it's not related to the Dark Knight at all. This is just my Batman movie, and it's an anthology film. So it's a film made up of several short stories in one film. Imagine something like Sin City or Pulp Fiction in the way that it's different little stories. Okay. So I'm just going to go through it.
Do it.
All right. Film opens and the camera follows through a filthy gutter. It's raining. We're on a dirty road as the camera's going in a gutter. The camera then follows a rat that goes up a drain pipe. The camera goes up the drain pipe, follows the rat, comes out. We're at a building. And we see through a window, rain covered. There's a back of a chair and an office and a hand and the cigarette smoke coming out of the hand. And we see a phone ring. The hand picks up the phone. We don't hear what's going on, just silence. And then we hear, my God, the phone gets slammed down and we go from the back and we're just following this man in a trench. We never see his face as he walks out into the front of the building. It's a police precinct. Phones are ringing off everywhere. Cops are grabbing phones. No one knows what's going on. We follow this character as he runs up some stairs. He's running upstairs. Behind him, music going bam, 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 bam. Door opens to the roof. He runs to a box, opens a box, and there's a big switch. He goes, shkabonk, yonks the switch. Whoosh, light. Finally, we see the person's face. We see a mustache and a cigarette and a hat. It's Commissioner Gordon on the roof, and he's just set off the bat signal.
Yes.
Camera goes to the sky. We see the bat signal in the sky. Fade to black. Titles: The Dark Knight, a bat for all seasons.
Ooh.
Then it goes to black. The first comes up, the first title card, and it says winter. So our film is set in 4 different seasons of the Batman, and each season focuses on a different villain, but also has a different facet of the Batman's character. So the first season is called Winter, and this is our dark crime noir story, okay? Picture, it's winter, so what have we got? Snow in Gotham. It's black, there's snow everywhere. Picture the Tim Burton sort of aesthetic, and we have a crime noir film based on old school crime stories when what's happening is, in the mob, somebody is killing off high-ranking mob members. And one night, the Catwoman, who is our femme fatale character, comes to the Batman and asks the Batman for help because not only is somebody killing off mob people, but somebody's coming for Catwoman. Then what happens is a crime story where Batman has to infiltrate and discover who this assassin is, what's going on. We find out the two biggest mobsters in my story, Penguin and the Two-Face. We've got Catwoman as well. And this little mini story ends with Batman solving the case. But obviously, Catwoman, being the femme fatale, gets the one up on him. So at the very end, they're on a rooftop. They share a kiss. She disappears, and we find out that Batman is obviously, she's stolen something or robbed something, and she's had the upper hand all along.
Nice.
Classic crime noir story. Fade to black. Next title card comes up. Spring. So in Spring, completely different tone. The last story was all very film noir, black and white. This one opens. It's a beautiful, colourful garden in a day, in a beautiful public garden. It's Gotham Central Park. And there's a young girl running around playing in the park, but she's surrounded by men in sunglasses with black suits, bodyguards. She's obviously, this girl is important for somehow. She's playing in the park. Suddenly, vans pull up. Masked goons jump out with machine guns. Bada, 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 bada. There's a gunfight. They kill all the bodyguards. Little girl, bag over her head. She gets dragged into a van, driven away. We see the little girl go up some stairs. She's in a filthy, rotten warehouse. We meet the villain of the Spring story, who's a villain that has never been used in Batman before. It's the Ventriloquist. Now, the Ventriloquist is a regular man, but on his arm has a ventriloquist dummy called Mr. Scarface, who is a gangster puppet, and he's mental, and the gangster puppet is what does all the crimes, and he's just like a normal pussy dude, right? And my story is this whole bit, is just Batman arrives at a warehouse, like a big, like, tall building. The girl who's kidnapped is on the top floor, and just like the Raid, it's just the Batman working his way up through 6 floors until he gets to the top. And this story, the facet of the Batman, is all about his gadgets and his fighting ability. Yes! So each level, Batman uses a different gadget to beat the baddies, different style, till he gets to the top, and he gets to the top. So the ventriloquist is there. Batman throws a batarang at the hand of the ventriloquist. Ventriloquist doesn't even feel it, nothing. Batman throws a batarang at the puppet, and the puppet's like, ah! That's the way he rolls, because he feels for the puppet. Batman, little girl, is shivering at the back, and she looks up, she sees the Batman, terrified of the Batman. The Batman walks up to her. Only time ever does it, we just see the Batman take a knee. And he looks at the girl and goes, it's going to be okay. Fade to black. Yes! The next one comes up. Summer. Summer opens. It's the Gotham skyline. And mate, it is hot. No snow, no black, steaming hot. We hear a news report. The heat wave in Gotham still continues this summer. And it's a sticky, hot, horrible. In this story, Batman is in it for about 2 minutes, right? This is the story of Poison Ivy in the summer of Gotham as she tries to hijack and rob the botanical gardens to create a spore pod that is going to release spores onto Gotham that's going to turn people into like plant people, right? But guess what? She spends the whole thing planning, and we watch her as she plans and builds it. She's in this giant greenhouse at the end, and the roof of the greenhouse opens up as this giant bulb plant rises, and then, whoosh, massive floodlights appear. What the fuck? The Batwing hovering over the greenhouse. The Batman jumps down. She goes, "You're too late, Batman." Ha! The spores set off, and suddenly, the plants all rot and melt. And she's like, "What? I don't understand." Batman smiles. The only time he smiles in the film. And then we have a quick flashback of 2 minutes where we find out that every single thing we've seen Poison Ivy do, in the background, there is either Bruce Wayne in disguise or a plan that Bruce Wayne has set. And this shows the asset of Batman, where he's always one step ahead of everybody else. Yes! Fade to black. And finally, the last title card comes up. Fall. Not autumn, fall. Because this is the scene where Batman falls into hell. So the final story in Fall, it's Batman driving in the Batmobile. By the way, my Batmobile is very much designed around the Batman the Animated Series Batmobile.
Nice.
There's a call from Commissioner Gordon. We don't know how he's done it. We don't know what's happened. But the Joker has taken over Arkham Asylum, and we need you to get there. And this is the story when we go all out. So not only is the Joker taken over Gotham, but he is not Gotham, so Arkham Asylum, but he has transformed Arkham into, on the inside, a type of medieval playground castle. And when the Batman turns up, the Joker goes, "The king has arrived, and your jester is waiting." And as he goes through Arkham, first of all, there are horses on fire running through the corridors. There's a group of inmates that have been given swords and like fake armor, and he's like, "You're knights!" And Batman has to fight all the knights. And he gets to a door, and he's like, "King, you have a meeting with your court physician." Opens the door, Scarecrow's there, blasts him with fear toxin. Then we have some mad, trippy scenes where we see Batman maybe in Crime Alley dealing with his parents' shit. Ends with Batman walks into this big fucking space. Fucking Joker's there. All these hostages are all there dressed up, and Batman and Joker's there dressed as a jester. And he goes, "The king has arrived. Take your throne or they all die." And the throne is an electric chair. So the Batman's like, and the Batman walks in. He's like, "You got me, Joker." And Batman sits on the chair, and he's like, and he thinks about to, and just as the Joker pulls his fucking lecky thing, all the power just cuts out. It goes, Choo! And Joker's like, "What? No. Suddenly the lights come on, and the Batman's not in the chair anymore. He's just stood there. And he does a monologue about how in the time that he's been doing the journey, he's had people on the outside be able to hack the system and turn the power off. And now all the people escape, and Batman turns around and goes, "You lose, Joker." Big beat down on the Joker. Bam, 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 bam. And then we see Batman on the roof of Arkham, flies off. Then finally we cut back, end of the film, and it's fucking Commissioner Gordon back on the roof again at the start of the film where he saw him and he turned on the lamp. And Harvey Bullock opens the door upstairs and he goes, "Jim, where is he?" And Gordon turns to Harvey Bullock and goes, "Don't worry, he'll be here." Credits. Batman, the Bat for all seasons. Bam, 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 bam.
Yes!
Now he's my cast and director, mate. All right? He's my cast and director. So my director, I'm going with Panos Cosmatos as my director. Panos did a film this year called Mandy with Nicolas Cage. That is one of the most, it is literally
Never seen it, mate.
It's a revenge film where Nicolas Cage's wife gets murdered by a cult and he gets revenge on him. It is literally a living nightmare.
Okay.
His style is incredible. That style in Gotham City, it'd blow my brain off. Now here's my full cast list, mate.
Okay, mate.
People working today. Batman, Bruce Wayne, Nicholas Hoult. Do you know Nicholas Hoult? You
Yes,
do know
I do.
him.
I
Yeah,
do,
you've had him
yeah.
in some of your films.
Yeah,
That
mate.
lad is like, he's 31 years old. He's 6'2". He's a handsome motherfucker.
Yeah, mate.
That's my fucking Batman right there.
Nice.
And also, he lost out to Robert Pattinson for the new Batman, and I think they might have made a mistake. Catwoman, Naomi Smith. She recently played Jasmine in the Aladdin remake,
Okay.
the live-action remake, and she was in Charlie's Angels, where she did a
Yes.
lot of physical acrobatics, and she's smoking, and she's got a bit of an ethnicity to her, so we're not whitewashing everyone.
Lovely.
Joker. Now, this one I struggled on for a while. I think I got it. I've gone with the King of Staten Island himself, Pete Davidson.
Ooh, I love him.
Like his big teeth and his
Yeah,
big
yeah.
dangly ways about him.
Yes.
Like, and he's tall as well.
Yeah.
I can see
And
it.
in
man.
a jester suit, I can see that, mate. I
Yeah.
love it.
Next of all, Two-Face. Harvey Dent used to be the White Knight and has now been destroyed. Who needs to be a kind of opposite of Batman in a way? Zac Efron, mate. Zac Efron. You saw him in his crazy psychopathic ways. That's my fucking Two-Face right there.
I
Can
love
play the
Zac.
super charmer. Harvey Dent.
Yes,
Yeah, also the
Two-Face.
psychopathic. That's my Two-Face. Penguin. This one's a bit out there. This one's a little bit out there. I've gone with a guy called John Bradley. John Bradley played Samwell Tarly in Game of Thrones. Right? I've gone with a younger English, poncier, kind of a bit. That's my Penguin take I'm going for.
How
Take on
interesting.
the Penguin.
Yeah.
Poison Ivy in my summer story has got to be my favourite redhead. It's Emma Stone, mate.
Ooh,
It's Emma
I
Stone.
love
It's my Poison
Emma.
Ivy. For Ventriloquist, Paul Giamatti is my Ventriloquist
Nice.
character with his little man. And then this is my favourite one. Commissioner Gordon. All you got to picture him, mate. It's Nicolas Cage as Commissioner Gordon. Picture Kick-Ass. When Nick
Okay.
Cage is the dad, and he's got the glasses and the mustache, and it's like,
Okay.
hey, baby, grizzle. And I'm not talking wacky mental.
No,
Cage.
like straight
This
down
is
the
when
line, Nick.
This is Cage on fire, Cage.
Yeah.
This is leaving Las Vegas. This is Fire Cage. So that's it, mate. That's my
Mate.
Batman cast, my Batman story. Boom.
Mate, I actually don't know what to say to that. Like that is unreal. Like I want you to be able to create it. Can we not like put out like a plea for some artists out there to help you get that down in graphic novel comic book form, mate? That's fucking genius. The 4 seasons of Batman, amazing, mate.
Thank you, mate. Now, just to be clear, I can't take credit for all this. These are ideas from other Batman artists and Batman writers that I've taken from different places.
But the collaboration of it all, like,
Yeah.
I loved it. Love it, mate. I love it. And if there's anyone out there who's listening or watching to this, please send us what you think about it. And if you're an artist, help Rich make that.
Mate, The Dark Knight, a bat for all seasons. Let's make it.
I love it. Well done, mate.
Thanks, mate.
I think you definitely won this week.
Me too. I'm not going to lie, mate, but the Dark Tights, Jesus Christ. I know.
Mate,
all right, mate.
that was a good ep. I love that.
Yeah, that was a good episode. I really enjoyed it, mate. I could talk about Batman every ep. From now on, the show is called Ready Steady Batman. All right, mate.
That's it. Thanks for listening, everyone. You know where to find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Ready Steady Remake. Rich, you're where?
At Rich Kelly 999.
And
follow me for nudes.
And at Rachel Tomo. Tune into our next episode, which will be a Ready Steady review. Do you know what you're doing yet, mate?
No, I don't, mate.
No, I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, that'll be a little surprise. So yeah, that'll be out next week. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. 3, 2, 1, yeah.
Stay 3, 2,
1.
Stay safe.
Bye.